Saludos amigos, los invitamos a escuchar La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, donde discutimos los temas del día, hablando de política, educación y otros temas, locales, regionales y mundiales, por USA la Radio. Señores oyentes de USA la Media, están escuchando La Mesa Redonda, The Round Table, desde la ciudad del amor fraternal. From the city of brotherly love, les habla Fernando Mendez, now Jax controlando el tablero. Bueno, tenemos noticias de muchas partes y de COVID, no solamente aquí en nuestro país, sino por el mundo. Está causando estragos desde Argentina hasta México. COVID-19 cases, over 8 million around the world. U.S. has 220,000 approximately. The world has 40 million cases, and over 1 million of people have died from COVID. So, yeah, the latest number exactly, 1,115,985 people have died. The U.S. appears ready to entering right now a third peak as the cold weather approaches. So we'll talk about COVID, we'll talk about Trump, his attacks to Dr. Fauci, his attacks on Joe Biden, and his insistence on the fact that he's doing a good job, that the government is doing a good job. In the meantime, every day we have more and more people dying from COVID-19 in the United States, and many doctors have been granted interviews to complain about the lack of equipment, the lack of facilities in hospitals where they have a great number of cases, like Wisconsin and Texas, where there's been a sudden increase in cases and people going to the hospital. So, but we'll start with the U.S. Supreme Court on Monday allowed Pennsylvania's 3-day extension for accepting mail-in ballots. The justices narrowly deny a request by state Republicans to intervene on the grounds that the state highest court had overstepped its authority. Under state law, counties can accept mail-in ballots that are arriving by 8 p.m. on election day. But in September, anticipating unprecedented voting by mail and U.S. Postal Service delays, the state Supreme Court ruled officials could accept ballots until 5 p.m. on November 6th. It's a very important development because that is what's happening in Pennsylvania. We're going to have more and more people with mail-in ballots, and so the state officials need more time to count them.
That's true.
Hey, who's this?
It's Martin.
It's a voice that sounds familiar, but seldom heard on the airwaves.
That's not true. That was last week. You heard me.
You have deprived us of your wisdom. What's up, Martin? Anybody who doesn't know, this is Martin Pratt, and he's our reporter on the spot. He brings news from City Hall, from media, from social media.
Okay.
He has a lot of time to read social media.
And we have a guest that's going to call in that was in Miami on Sunday when I guess the Biden crew of Miamiers decided to descend upon a Trump-Pence Cuban restaurant. And for 3 hours, they drove by honking their horns. And it's really interesting to see on social media, as you said, that the reaction to the average person walking down the street was excitement and happiness, which is something I wouldn't think in that would happen in downtown Miami.
So, Martin, would you give us and Nile Jax the name of this person who's going to call?
Sure. I will spell it because I'm not sure how to pronounce it. T as in Tom, E-M-A-N-T-E. Leary.
Leary. Okay. Thank you. We'll see. So let's hope he calls soon. So we'll find out what this is about. So anyway, I was reading the fact that we have more time to
count ballots, right?
No, right? The Supreme Court, right? Because we know the Republicans are trying to squash the vote. They are afraid.
Especially in Philadelphia. I don't know why Philadelphia? Why is Pennsylvania such an important, state? You would think like they would go to Florida or they would go to Ohio, someplace where, but Pennsylvania, it's come on.
Because I think that the calculations are if they lose Pennsylvania, it will be more and more difficult for them to win this election.
Right.
All they to lose right now is Pennsylvania and Florida. Florida is very close. Florida right now is a toss-up, So
yeah, they're saying the same thing in North Carolina too.
Right.
Which is very, very interesting. And
look,
South Carolina, surprisingly, the guy is running against Harrison. That's running against Lindsey Graham. Yeah, they're neck and neck.
Yeah, there are two people I don't want to see again ever on the face of politics in this country. One of them is Lindsey Graham. The other one is Moscow Mitch.
Yeah, it would be great if Mitch McConnell would be kicked out. That would be.
You know what? I would almost not care if Trump won if he's gone.
That's kind of hard. That's all.
No, okay, I got carried away for the moment.
I get what you're saying, though. That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Black voters are poised to tip the electoral scales in Pennsylvania and across the nation in this year's election, according to Penn Live. So I guess black voters are energized. Huh? What do you say, Martin?
Yeah, I definitely see a lot more ads than usual, and definitely people trying to really engage with the black voter a lot more this year. I don't know if you saw the pictures in Texas, but there was a big deal with the governor of Texas deciding to only allow one mail-in ballot box per county. So a place like Houston, which has, I think, over 2 million people in Houston, the Harris County, they only have one mail-in ballot box, the entire county.
That's funny.
So what has happened is there have been lines, and I'm saying lines like 4 to 6 hour lines, the minute early voting started. So I will definitely say that black voters seem like they definitely want to make sure that their vote is counted and their vote is actually mean something. So I would definitely say this year of all years, we're going to see across the board, we're going to see more engagement, but also people. I live on right near South Philly, so right on South Broad. There are 4 to 6 volunteers per 4 hours on the corner of South Broad, Washington, holding signs up with actual loudspeakers, telling people to make a plan and go vote. I've never seen that in the city, any city I lived in, Chicago, DC. So, and I didn't see it last year or when the other year, 2016. So this is really an interesting time period, I think, in being a black voter, but also in general in most urban cities. I think that there is way more engagement than has ever been.
Absolutely. I think the total number of state voters in Pennsylvania has surpassed 9 million.
Wow.
That's according to state election officials. And that includes more than 4.2 million Democrats, more than 3.5 million Republicans, over 895,000 independents, and about 407,000 registered with another party. Those people are loonies. Who is going to register with another party in this election? Well, I don't care where they're registered. Let's vote Democrat. That's all we care.
That seems to be the choice of a lot of Republicans too. I was reading about Michigan and Wisconsin. There's a lot of places, and also I also read about South Carolina. There's a lot of places where the registered Republican is choosing to vote down the entire ballot line blue. So they're not changing their party, but they're upset about the Republican leadership not saying anything about Trump, what he's been saying. That's one. Two, COVID, and three, the healthcare issue. Democrats really were able to change the conversation last week with the Supreme Court nomination hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought ACA or affordable health care as a frontline and center issue that I think the American public is completely upset about.
Well, looking at the numbers, I think if all the Democrats in the state really went to vote, we should have more than 1 million votes over Trump. So, but that means all of them going to vote, which doesn't happen. COVID-19 cases continue to spike, and the Wolf administration has called on Pennsylvanians to double down in their efforts to contain the spread of an illness that has claimed the lives of 8,500 people statewide. So there's too many people dying in this state from COVID, which Mr. Trump said.
How do you feel about Pennsylvania is opening up, not so much Philadelphia, but Pennsylvania has opened up the allowance for restaurants to have, you know, a high number of people in them?
I think it's okay. You look, at this point, the people who own restaurants are just as responsible as you and I. They know that if they do a bad job, people are not going to go back to their restaurant. So they're taking steps to make it safe for people. I mean, any restaurant that I've seen in the city, they're all taking steps. They're all protected. The staff is protected. So I think it's safe for the most part.
What about also now you can go into the stadium with football?
Well, that's a different story. I would still be reluctant to go to a stadium at this point.
Gotcha.
There's just too many unpredictable things happening in such a large venue. You never know that, because there's still a lot of people who are denying COVID exists. So that would be the danger. I think in restaurants, if you don't wear a mask, you won't get in. Period. So that's not the case in stadiums, where people actually could wear the mask to go in and then take it off as they go inside, because that's what they want to do. So So, with more than 100,000 Pennsylvanians living in long-term care facilities, advocates worry that voting for this demographic will be a logistical nightmare. It's because we're not prepared for that kind of stuff. I don't know why they haven't prepared, but they are not prepared. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that also. I'm concerned about it on a number of different levels. I think to me, it feels like Pennsylvania has forgotten its elderly and just, wrote them off, period. Not just with voting, but everything. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, so we care not just about the voting, but their health in general, because COVID is a big threat to seniors, as we know.
Well, but they also they made it difficult for you to visit any kind of family, and you have to really be intentional about. There used to be senior citizen access centers around the city of Philadelphia, at least. Those are all closed down. You can still go to the Philadelphia Council of Aging, or no, it's something else. Not this Corporation of Aging. It's another brown building on South Broad. I forget the name of it. But I was walking past the other day, and there was an elderly person outside asking them for food. They normally do food drives, and they did have a bag for him, but he had to stay on the sidewalk. The building is off the sidewalk, and it's like a few feet, and they basically were shouting across I was like, this is a real thing. Like, he's actually outside shouting, and the person inside holds the door open and shouts back, and then they bring the stuff to the side entrance and leave it on the side step. That seems like a lot to do if you are hungry and you want, to get the normal food drive, which is not being delivered to any access centers.
Yeah, well, as usual, they're dependent on other people, and that is one of the problems there. So let's hope something is done right by them. But here's another op-ed that is warning posters, but because they have not adjusted for the new pandemic voting patterns, they may be missing worrisome drop-offs in Black and Latino voting. So I guess what they're saying is that due to the fear that people have, for instance, of going to line up at the polling centers, that people may be staying home instead of voting. So I don't know.
Well, there's what's happening in California with the fake ballot boxes, and there's also, to your point, I think to the point of the article, I definitely think there is a drop off in Black votes, or let me drop offs. They'll drop off of Democratic Black votes. I don't think it's going to be super large, but I do think it's going to be. I think they'll get Trump, or the Republicans will get something close to more like a 5. Well, they'll get 50% more votes they got last time around. So I think, in my mind, under 20% of Black men will vote for Republican. And the Hispanic, I think it's going to be a complete drop off. The Republicans won't get more votes, and the Democrats will get more votes, but it's going to be a drop off in the sense of turnout.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope everything is wrong. I hope that maybe the last, this debate this week, and just things in general. Hopefully, people are upset, and they're like, not. I don't want to, speak ill of anyone, but I think as more people get sick, it's going to be harder for people who are angry about Biden with the crime bill and Kamala being a prosecutor. It's going to be harder for you to justify people's deaths on the fact that these two people decide to take a law and order stance.
Well, we'll see. I think at this point, I would say like 90% of the vote is already decided. There's always
90? You think it's 90?
I think it's probably more than that anyway. But
decide, not voted. Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, one of them, believe it or not, is Iris. Iris cannot decide what to do. I said, like, really?
That's terrible.
Okay, so well, we want 4 more years of this idiot separating children from their families.
No, definitely not.
No, right? 4 more years of not dealing with COVID the way it's supposed to be, not believing in science, not believing in the global warming that is killing us.
Did you see Did you see what he said? I think it was 2 days ago. I actually haven't heard anything he said yesterday, but 2 days ago he said at a rally, or maybe it was Saturday, he said Biden is sticking by science. I was like, wait.
Yeah, I know. But Biden is going to listen to Fauci. That's what he said.
And that's a bad thing because it's like wait, what?
Yeah, that was on Monday, and that was on Monday. He called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the U.S. infectious disease expert, one of the most trusted people in America, called him a disaster.
Wow.
But he is the same day, on the same day. How about this for irony? On the same day, Dr. Gupta, who appears on MSNBC occasionally, said the National Medical Association honored Dr. Fauci for leadership in the medical field. On the same day, Trump calls him and other doctors idiots and a disaster. So, he says...
it's really scary, when you think about having to your point about, I definitely have to get rid of Trump before Mitch McConnell I can deal with. He's not as scary. He's not, having the Senate, hopefully everything looks like the Democrats will get the Senate. That's I think that's a kind of a already given. How broadly they'll get the Senate, I think is going to be what comes out. But having Mitch McConnell gone, or even if the Democrats didn't get the Senate and it was like a 50-50 split, I still think that I'd rather see Trump gone than to keep Mitch McConnell, because McConnell he's not as dangerous as Trump is.
Yeah, I believe that. But he's just another useful idiot for the Trump government. So,
or anybody at this point, it's just
yeah. But now there's some of the things that Trump has claimed that he could raise billions by calling oil executives at Wall Street.
What?
He said he could call the CEO of Exxon, and then and Exxon responded.
Where did he say? Did he say this on Fox? Like I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
What business outlet? What media outlet?
He could raise billions by calling Wall Street, and especially the CEO of Exxon. So Exxon responded, "We are aware of the president's statement regarding a hypothetical call with our CEO, and just so we're all clear, it never happened." So,
so nobody really wants this guy to reference them. Like, don't keep your name out my mouth. Not
he can say whatever he says, and people come right out and contradict him. He's really angry at Fauci now, because Fauci, immediately after Trump says anything, Fauci comes on and says that's not true.
Well, but it's life or death. Like, I mean, he has to. Like, he's a doctor. He has an oath to keep his. Yeah, he doesn't understand. I mean, I don't think Trump doesn't. Doesn't care, regardless of whether it's for our good or not. Trump just wants people to agree with him for the sake of agreeing.
Yeah, well, Trump accused him of being a Democrat, but Fauci is actually registered independent. So it's like even that is not in his favor. Anyway, right. But here's the problem. Okay, so Trump continues to hold these rallies that the medical establishment considers super spreaders, and he attacks Fauci, who now has secret service protection because of threats to his family. Dr. Fauci has a point advantage over Trump in terms of credibility, but Trump keeps attacking him. So all these nuts that listen to Trump have threatened Fauci's life and his family. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was almost. What did you think about the town hall when he refused to acknowledge QAnon?
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's like Q who? I don't know them. I never heard of them. Are you kidding me?
Right. I just happen to know they were against pedophilia, though. Like, so was that when you were talking to Jeffrey Epstein? That one,
Yeah. Well, this morning, in a phone call to Fox and Friends, Trump says there will not be a shutdown of the economy, and he also says Fauci is a nice guy. At a rally, he says, I can't fire Fauci, who has been here for 500 years, because that would be a bomb. And then he brags about not listening to the scientists because we would have more people dying if we listen to the scientists. Oh, man, it's like, if you wrote a script like this, nobody would believe it. They wouldn't buy it. They're like, "What? You must be kidding. We're not put that in the air."
Right. But here's this other side of the table, right, with media. Then you're absolutely right. Nobody would buy the script. But yet, media has really given him. He hasn't had to take an ad out, really, because he's had from 2016. He's had the media in his pocket, and it's like this symbiotic relationship between these these television shows, and also the radio. But I do see a break with what Fox decided to do and not give him Hunter Biden. They refused to do the Hunter Biden report with the fake report about this so-called laptop. Fox passed on that story.
Well, that story was discredited because they found out Rudy Giuliani had obtained the information from a Russian intelligence team that has been accused of interfering in the French election and preparing to interfere in the 2020 election in the U.S. So that's Mr. Rudy Giuliani. I don't know what happened to that guy. He lost his mind a while ago.
Yeah, something damaged him.
Yeah, he's selling Russian disinformation and bringing it and selling it as true fact, and he sold that to the New York Post. And so the New York Post had this headline about Biden's corruption and whatnot, and that's what Trump is saying now. Do you hear what he said? That Biden should be put in jail. That was the latest.
I just don't understand why he's still somebody people go to even interview.
Yeah. But here's another development. I don't know what you think of this. The president and his Democratic rival Biden will have their microphones muted for part of their final pre-election debate on Thursday. So,
well, it's necessary, right? I mean, like, Trump's not going to stop talking. He's just not going to stop talking. So
yeah, but his microphone is muted, so I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the only. You asked me what I thought about. I think that's the only way to do it is to not give the moderator a chance to mute them, but to just mute them. Period. Like, just automatically. This is what's going to happen, guys. You'll get a chance to answer. Then your mic's muted. Then your opponent will get a chance to answer, and your mic will be muted. That's the rule. Like, it's not, arbitrary. If you talk too long, the rule is, while other person is talking, your mic is off. Right. That's the only way to do it. I mean, I don't see a way they could have done it. So I agree with it. And I think that it's a shame you have to do that, but he has no self-control. And that's the thing. Like, what are we teaching kids when you see this, or teenagers? Like, the only way to do this is to actually punish you and still allow you. We have to allow him to do it. Well, I don't know. We have to allow him to do the debate. But, theoretically, you should have a debate, at least one or two. And the only way to have it with this guy is to mute him.
Yeah. But here's one that I don't understand, this item, is that the Republican campaign is accusing the organizers of the debate of helping Biden by leaving out.
I saw that.
Leaving out foreign policy as a topic. Why do Trump thinks that foreign policy is a strong point for him?
Did you see what they renamed the Presidential Commission on Debates? They've renamed it the Biden Debate Commission. In a letter to them, that's what the campaign manager calls them. Dear Biden Debate Commission. And I was like, really, y'all? That's how petty you're going to be? Is going to shoot, really? But, well, that's the thing. Like, we know he's not strong in foreign policy. I mean, that's something that is hard to even debate the fact that he's, is he good for it? It's like, nope.
I don't understand why they think that would be an advantage to Trump. He could destroy him right away, pointing out all these stuff that he did to so dislodge us from NATO, from our friends, to alienate all our friends in Europe, Germany, England, France. He's insulted everybody. So why would that be a strength for Trump? I don't understand. But this is like, as I said, it's a script that if you wrote it like that, nobody would believe it. It's like, no, you're kidding me. This wouldn't happen. This couldn't happen. We're acting like a banana republic.
Right.
And even a banana republic wouldn't tolerate what is happening right now, I think. But, okay. So, what do you think? So you think that the new debate format will be helpful because now Mr. Trump cannot go on interrupting?
Probably not. I mean, you saw the town hall. He was. I felt like he was deferential in the town hall. He thanked people for their question, even when it was a question he didn't like. He was personable. I don't know if you saw the woman that flirted with him on national television, telling his smile looked great and all that other stuff. But yeah. And
he stumbled at one point when he said, "Why don't you ask Biden this question?" And she said, "Well, because I have you in front of me and not Biden." So.
Right.
Anyway, so this is so abundant in comedy. This it's not even funny. But the Democrats are out fundraising the Trump campaign, 135 million more than the Republicans. So it's a lot of money. But Trump still has raised more money. Trump has like $1.3 billion. He's risen, and Joe Biden has.
Wait. What do you mean Trump has raised $1.3 billion? Where's that number coming from? He's broke.
According to the NPR, Trump has raised $1.33 billion. According to NPR.
Oh.
And Biden has raised only $990 million. That's an awful lot of money. But Biden is spending it. He's spending it on ads every day. I think. What is Trump allowed to take that money with him if he loses?
There's going to be a lot of, so the campaign is under investigation internally for what Brad Pascal spent. That's number one. Number two, the House of Representatives, I believe, will open up, along with the GOA, the Government Accounting Office, is going to open an investigation into, they've been investigating, what they spent for the inauguration parties. And I'm pretty sure that the House of Representatives will open an investigation on how because the Trump campaign itself is investigating where I think 140 million went, or it might be even more than that. That Pascal, the former campaign manager, is supposed to be, I think he's being railroaded, but anyway, they're putting all on him, saying he absconded with close to 40 million.
Anyway, so we're going to take a very brief pause here in USA la Media, la Mesa Redonda, the Round Table. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Niall Jacks controlando el tablero, Martin Pratt on the phone. We will return in a minute. I think Niall has a clip for us to play when we return.
Okay.
I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. And even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, Maria, and she convinced me to continue my education. Just never judges. She's a true role model.
From the depths of my heart, I thank you, Maria, for being a friend and a beautiful person. No one receives a diploma alone, and I'm honored to share this moment with you. Thank you.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Señores oyentes de USA La Media, estamos aquí de nuevo con su programa La Mesa Redonda de Round Table desde el corazón de la ciudad del amor fraternal. Les habla Fernando Mendez, Niall Jack controlando el tablero, Martin Pratt on the phone. One item in the news, LA County has 1 million undocumented immigrants. Trump fails in promise to deport millions. Obama, remember Obama? He deported 2.5 million people. So that's a report by Jacob Soroff, who wrote about the Trump administration's effort to separate children at the border. So we'll talk a little bit about this, a new book about Latinx by Paula Ramos, and aiming to start a conversation about who are we? Who are the Latinos? It's interesting. Anyway, we mentioned Dr. Fauci and how he has been the object of attacks by Mr. Trump. And Niall found a clip for us to play. So, Niall, if you were ready with that clip, let's hear it.
War of words between President Trump and Dr. Anthony Fauci is heating up. Last night, Dr. Fauci was on 60 Minutes saying he wasn't surprised that Mr. Trump had contracted the virus. Today, on a call with campaign staff and some members of the press, the president let loose on the nation's leading infectious disease expert.
President Trump is trashing Dr. Anthony Fauci today, calling him an idiot in a call to his campaign staff that reporters were allowed to listen in on.
People are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots. Every time he goes on television, there's always a bomb, but there's a bigger bomb if you fire him.
Trump's fury came after Fauci's 60 Minutes appearance, in which he criticized last month's White House Amy Coney Barrett event.
Were you surprised that President Trump got sick? Absolutely not. When I saw that on TV, I said, oh my goodness. Nothing good can come out of that. That's got to be a problem. And then sure enough, it turned out to be a super spreader event.
Fauci also revealed that he's protected round the clock by federal agents because he and his family are getting death threats.
That's sad. The very fact that a public health message to save lives triggers such venom and animosity to me that it results in real and credible threats to my life and my safety.
Trump was asked about the feud today.
Why did you criticize Dr. Fauci?
No, I think really Dr. Fauci's a very nice man, but we let him do what he wants to do. He gets a lot of television. He loves being on television, and we let him do it. Sometimes he says things that are a little bit off, and they get built up, unfortunately, but he's a nice guy. I like him.
Then he delivered this zinger.
I don't want to. I don't want to hurt him. He's been there for about 350 years. I don't want to hurt him.
At an airport rally in Arizona, Trump continued ranting about Fauci and said Americans are fed up with the pandemic.
They're getting tired of the pandemic, aren't they? Getting tired of the pandemic. You turn on CNN, that's all they cover. COVID, pandemic, COVID. You know why? They're trying to talk everybody out of voting. People aren't buying at CNN, you dumb bastards.
On Sunday, the president appeared at an indoor church service in Las Vegas.
It's unbelievable. Where do we start? He picked on everybody, including CNN. Damn bastards, he called.
Yeah, because they keep their reporting on stuff that is, it makes him, like, in his mind, he thinks that without CNN, without MSNBC or even Fox, because he wasn't happy with Fox over the weekend also, he thinks that if they stop reporting on this, that the American public will somehow think this is going away. And it's really troubling. And I think that, one of the things that's going to come out in the next 2 years is that he's starting to have dementia because, or there breaks, and his niece says in the book, the niece, who is a psychologist, already has broken him down when it was like the psychosis that he's dealing with. And so, but we're seeing it play out in front of our eyes almost on a daily basis, because the American people are not going to forget about COVID because CNN doesn't cover it. Because we all know people who have died, or I actually know two Philadelphia journalists right now who have COVID. And so, I mean, it's not something I'm going to forget about because I don't see it on the news.
But well, just just to read some headlines, not just because COVID is not only here, but it's around the world. It's in Latin America. It's causing really playing havoc in Argentina. Argentina has confirmed cases that over 1 million cases now in Argentina. Same in Colombia, and Colombia also the 1 million cases, or approaching the 1 million. And the same thing in Chile, Mexico, Peru, Brazil. We know Brazil was like third on the list, with the U.S., India, Brazil, and so all this. It doesn't stop. We need leadership, because if this country can lead in so many other ways, certainly with the knowledge we have about medicine, we could do a better job than other countries. But we're not. We don't have the right political leadership. But more headlines from Latin America. In Colombia, the indigenous Colombians rally in Bogotá over killings. They demand to speak to President Duque. So it's a march in Bogotá. In Nicaragua, President Ortega, who was a darling of the lefties in this country, Daniel Ortega with the Sandinistas. I don't know if you remember that. Ortega, now he denies torture allegations. And now, talking about a banana republic, guess who is Ortega's vice president?
I don't know.
Huh? Take a guess. Think
guy,
banana republic, huh?
Yeah, I was just trying to think of Fernando, not Fernando.
No.
Oh God, Marcos.
Marcos.
Emilio Marcos' son, or nephew, or niece, or
it was his wife, Marcos's wife. Well, Ortega also has his wife as vice president.
Wow.
And then he denied that there is any violations of human rights in Nicaragua.
That's crazy.
It's always the same thing. Mr. Ortega said on an event celebrating the country's interior ministry, there are prisoners who make up that they are being tortured. He doesn't explain that the tortures, the prisoners are there for simply because being part of the opposition to this government. Which, speaking of, and this is one of the most ridiculous things about Mr. Trump, he's gone around saying that Biden is a criminal and he should be in prison. You heard that one, right?
Yep.
Why is he really is acting like he's running a banana republic? He's calling,
and he really believes it. He believes that Barr should lock up Biden, Barr should lock up Obama, and Barr should lock up Hillary Clinton.
He doesn't believe that. That's red meat for his people.
I think he does believe it, Fernando. I disagree with you. I really do believe it. He thinks that if you treat him, but he's untouchable and he can do what he wants. But if you treat him bad, then you should have to get the letter of the law or the book thrown at you twice.
Why?
Because he's a selfish child. That's how kids are. They think they can do what they want, but then you try to treat them the same way. I'm just a child. Why would you treat me like that? Oh my God! It's like, wait a minute. So you're dealing with this adult child, man-child, who believes that he can be unfair to other people, but that same thing is done to him fairly, not unfair, but fairly, then that should be repercussions for that. How dare you treat me this way?
Unbelievable. So we're just 2 weeks from the election, and Trump has not said one word about what is his platform, what he plans to do with another 4 years that the voters could give him. He has not said anything about his plans for the next 4 years. All he has done is attack Biden, attack Hillary, and Obama. He's still fighting the 2016 election.
I hear you. Fernando, we have a guest in the waiting room.
Okay.
To our engineer.
Okay, Niall, you hear that?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Brother Leary.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
It's pretty dreary up here in Philadelphia. How is it down there in Florida?
It's actually the same. It's I'm sure it's warmer, but it's been pretty much rainy and cloudy, overcast for the last couple of days. Same thing today.
So we're joined by Samantha.
Fernando Mendez, the moderator of this show. Welcome to Usala Media, the round table. Now, you say the weather is bad, but politically speaking, Florida is also a cauldron of difficulties.
Yes, yeah. Politically speaking, we are probably one of the most important states in the union when it comes to not only this election but any election. We're definitely have been considered a swing state, and in my opinion, this is one of the most important states for. I am a Biden-Harris supporter, so it's one of the most important states for them to win. We have.
How do you see the vote right now going in Florida?
It's very interesting. That's an interesting question. I mean, you have to keep several things in mind. First, Trump does have his Mar-a-Lago estate here in South Florida, in Palm Beach. So he does have a base of support. Also, I happen to be in South Florida, in Miami, and as I posted over the weekend, I actually posted some videos of some supporters for both candidates out in the streets over the weekend, showing their support, and overwhelmingly, Cubans support Donald Trump. I've never really understood completely that dynamic, and I'm learning more about it. But you do see overwhelming support from Cubans for Donald Trump. So keeping those things in mind when it comes to the election here, I think it's going to be a tight race. I did see quite a lot, actually, of Biden-Harris supporters in the demonstration that I recorded, as far as Cubans supporting them as well. And so I think
that was Sunday. That was just this past.
This was Sunday, yeah. This was Sunday, and that to me was very telling, actually, to see so many Cuban supporters supporting Biden and Harris. I don't know, in previous elections if what that's looked like, but I definitely saw for myself this past weekend, and there's definitely a lot of support for the Democratic Party ticket as well. So I do think it's going to be a tight race. I think that young voters, millennials, and minority voters need to really show up to the polls and have a chance to make a difference in the outcome. And so that's kind of what I see. I encourage folks to vote early. I'll be voting early. I have seen quite a few people voting early already, and getting out there and exercising their right. So that's good to see. But it's going to be interesting, the Florida landscape.
Now you mentioned Mar-a-Lago as a plus for Trump, but Mar-a-Lago is like another world. That's like Beverly Hills. You might as well live in a different world, because for the rest of Florida, Mar-a-Lago is an exception. So I don't know that should help Trump, since there are so many poor people, middle class people who don't have access to what he does.
No, it's definitely not going to be something where the middle class is going to benefit. But Trump is a billionaire. He obviously, we know a lot of people who he runs with and who he has on his payroll, and then his staff are also birds of a feather. So a lot of them are also very affluent, billionaires as well. And it's not going to help in the sense of getting, the middle class vote. But from what I have learned over the years, it is a place where there are benefit dinners, fundraisers, who's who, as far as donors and people with a lot of power often get invited to the estate. And when you're talking about power players and financial backers, that's when it would be important for him.
He's behind in fundraising, and with the group that you're talking about, even if they make up 10,000 people, I don't think that's going to make a difference in the vote. I think
I have one question I wanted to get to Brother Leary asked about, or actually two. In the town hall that happened last week, there was a woman behind Trump that was nodding her head a lot. I believe she considers herself black, and she says she's Blacks for Trump. It turns out she's Dominican, but I was just wondering, in Florida, was there a reaction to, her and that whole, fiasco of her constantly shaking her head wildly whenever Trump said anything? And the second thing was, what's the one thing on the ballot in Florida that Floridians seem to be really excited about or angry about or, polarized?
Okay, so the first question, I actually did not hear too much about that lady. Okay. But I will say, if you're Dominican is black, right? You're not Black American, right? But Dominicans are black people, and just like any race, you have blacks and whites, right? So you have black Dominicans, you have white Dominicans, but of course Dominicans are overwhelmingly black. Now, as far as the second question, let me make sure I understand it right. As far as
is there a Floridian issue that is on the ballot this year that, like, sometimes I think the one with 2016 was to getting formerly incarcerated folk their right to vote.
That's a huge one, actually. Even for this election, there have been initiatives to ensure people who have a criminal background or criminal records can still be able to exercise their right to vote. We've even had some, celebrity advocates like LeBron James, for example, really pushing those initiatives, not only in Florida, but beyond. So that's definitely one of them. Here, immigration is huge. And so, I mean, immigration is huge everywhere, right? But here in South Florida, us being, you know, on a clear day, you know, basically 90 minutes away from Cuba, right, from the southernmost point of Key West, and where we're situated, obviously is an immigration hub. So I can't necessarily say like there's just a hot button issue, but when it comes to, you know, the Dreamers, when it comes to DACA, when it comes to, I know that was a huge one, right, where a couple of months ago, and I think he did backtrack, you know, they were going to require students, international students, essentially to go back home. And they were going to make it very difficult for them to stay here and go to school and work, you know, obviously as contributors to our society. And that was not looked on favorably at all. Actually caused them to backpedal. And so I think for now, they're okay. But that was one of the areas that definitely here with our huge, diverse population, and we have a lot of immigrants here. That was definitely a hot button issue, you know, for Dreamers and obviously their family and everyone who was really here trying to make a better way for themselves, not to have to go back to a country where they're oppressed and don't have the opportunities.
Right. Well, thank you for calling in. Really appreciate you, you know, posting that video. You posted 4 parts to it to let us know that Florida isn't all for Trump, and they're actually Floridians who actually are interested in voting for Biden-Harris.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for calling, Mr. Leary. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and glad to come on at any time. You all keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care. Well, Martin, we have reached the end. Thank you for getting that guest. Let's keep him on the lineup.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for calling today. So we have reached the end of this show because that's how the clock moves. One last thing, that nodding lady was an attorney from Dominican Republic, and she is a well-known Trumper. So no surprise there. In an audience of undecided voters, she was there nodding her. So thank you again. Thank you. Se despide de ustedes Fernando Mendez aquí en la mesa redonda. Nile Jax controlando el tablero. Martin Pratt on the phone. Hasta la próxima.